Hello and welcome. I'm your host, author Ryan M. Oliver, and this is the Mighty Books Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast, author interviews. Today I have Debby Grahl. Debby Grahl is an award-winning author who lives on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, with her husband, David. Besides writing, she enjoys biking, walking on the beach, and a glass of wine at sunset. Sounds like a good time to me. Visually impaired since childhood by retinitis pigmentosa, also known as RP, she uses screen reading software to research and write her books. Debby, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good. Glad to have you on. Glad to make it work. Minus technical difficulties, so we're doing good. What isn't life a little challenge, right?
Yes.
So today we're here to talk about your book. Actually, you've got quite a selection of books, but which book are we primarily discussing today?
Today we're discussing Island Heat. It was released this past May by the Wild Rose Press, and it's a romantic suspense.
Ooh, I like that. What exactly, like the synopsis, if you had to give a dirty 1 minute rundown, or I guess the book blurb on the back, what would people see? A little more detail on it, I guess.
Okay, well, the story is about Suzanne and Austin, and they meet on a mystery cruise. A publishing house has presented this cruise, and it's sort of like the game of Clue. They have a skit on board, and then the participants have to go around the ship collecting clues, and then they try to figure out who the murderer is. And Suzanne and Austin actually find they're having more fun with their romance than they are finding clues, but they also manage to do that as well. And they have a romance that begins on the ship. Fast forward, they end up on Hilton Head Island, and what was a pretend skit on the ship has turned deadly.
Ooh, all right. Very cool. So what inspired this? Did you do a lot of like romance writing or mystery, reading when you were younger? Is that kind of where you got the inspiration from for the story?
Well, actually, my first love of books are mysteries, the old Agatha Christie's.
Mm,
I just absolutely love those. And when I started writing, I wanted to write mystery cozies. And
okay.
so I happened to find a writing group, and there was an editor offering a 25 word critique. And I thought, cool, because I had written this little mystery. So I thought, it was great, and I'd send it off and she'd love it. Well, she wrote back and said, well, first off, if you want to write, she said, I put everything in red that was wrong, and I think the whole page was red.
Oh,
She told me I should take writing classes, which I did, and it was extremely helpful. But then she said at the time, mysteries weren't selling. She said, if you want to sell books, you need to write romance. And well, romance, I love reading those as well. So all of my books have a mystery to them. They're not just straight romance.
well, that's kind of cool. I think that's also going to help you with a broader audience too.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, like romance is generally tailored for women, but mysteries, guys can get on board with mysteries. I mean, like my wife found a couple of good books that were mystery and had a sprinkle of romance or at least a good element of it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll read that. Sure, why not? Because bonding and two of us want to read the same book. Why not? So that would be something that we would actually enjoy together, as a mystery romance combo.
I also like I love witches and ghosts.
Oh,
And in a
okay.
couple of my books that take place down in New Orleans, I have witches and goats, and they're fun because they're so versatile. You can do so much with them. So my new obsession actually is reading mystery cozies with witches and ghosts, and I just can't get enough of them anymore. I found a new author that I absolutely love, and she can't write them fast enough for me.
Yeah, I saw you wrote a paranormal romance. What sparked the interest in the paranormal?
Well, like I said, I've always liked books with when I say witches and ghosts, I don't mean like creepy stuff. I mean, they're just normal people that happen to be able to do
Oh,
things.
gotcha.
And my husband and I went to New Orleans for our honeymoon and just fell in love with it. And we go back. I go for a conference there now every year, but just the whole environment and atmosphere and of New Orleans just inspired me to want to write about witches and ghosts. And so
Cool.
his magic touch actually takes place in New Orleans, and
Nice.
it has witches and ghosts. And my first book that I wrote, a second book actually, The Silver Crescent, has a really cool pair of Victorian ghosts in it that sort of help. That one happens to be a treasure hunt that two people are trying to solve. And so the ghosts help them along with that.
Cool. Cool. Now, is in New Orleans, is there like a layer of voodoo there too?
Oh, definitely,
Okay.
definitely. Yes, there's voodoo and witchcraft, and in fact, the hotel that we stay at when we go, it's called the Hotel Monteleone, and it's supposed to be one of the most haunted hotels in New Orleans.
Mm.
I've never experienced anything, thank goodness. I think if I ever did, I'd probably have a breakdown. But I like reading about them and writing about them, anyways.
Yeah. Now, when you write your books and they're based off of like, you got your South Carolina mysteries or your South Carolina series, you got your New Orleans series. Did you have to do research on the area? Obviously, you live in Hilton Head Island, so that kind of helps a little bit. But did you have to do some research to flesh out settings or people or businesses, things like that?
Yes, definitely. The first of my Carolina series is Mountain Blaze, and it takes place up around Asheville, North Carolina. And we happen to be visiting family and just doing some sightseeing. It's just beautiful, beautiful country up through
Yeah.
there. And we came across this, well, they call it a ranch, but it's mostly they have horseback riding and cabins that you can rent. And it just sort of gave me the idea for Mountain Blaze. And so Dylan, who's the main character in that, he popped into my head. And then Diana, she actually is from a very well-to-do family in Philadelphia, and they meet, and their backgrounds couldn't be too different. But she falls in love with North Carolina and the mountains, so that one was a lot of fun to research. Like I said, New Orleans, we go there so much that I know the area quite well.
Yeah.
So, and if I do need to find out, oh, is this business actually on that street? Google Earth comes in really handy
Mhm.
for things like that. In fact, one time I put a place and we went down there and went researching it, and I found out I had it in the book in the absolutely wrong place. And I tell you, if you get
Oh.
it wrong, your readers will find it in a minute.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean if they're locals, definitely. If they're
Oh,
not,
yes. Oh, yes.
probably not. But yeah, that's so hard. You want to try to be as true as you can to the area. Your series you have is this book, Island Heat, is the second in the
It's
South
the
Carolina
second.
series. Okay,
Yes, it was
okay.
actually supposed to be the first. But like I said, Mountain Blaze, sometimes characters, when you're a writer, they just pop in your head and they won't go away until
Yeah.
you write about them. And Diana and Dylan did that. So Mountain Blaze was first and Island Heat. And the next one is going to take place in Charleston, South Carolina. I have the characters and I have the plot, but I cannot come up with the title. I wanted to use Low Country Boil, and that is a cookbook,
Oh.
and somebody else actually used that title. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to come up with something else, but that will be the third in the series. And then I'm going to jump a state over to Georgia, and I'm going to do Savannah Sizzle for the fourth one.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you got a lot of frying pans in the fire there.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So now the South Carolina series, are they interconnected or are they completely separate, like different characters, or is like there one character that lingers in each book? How are they connected?
In Mountain Blaze, you meet the McCoy family,
Hmm.
and that's Dylan. And then he has cousins and brothers and sisters, and so it's a family. each book is a standalone,
Okay.
but like Susanna in Island Heat is Dylan's cousin.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
then Jennifer, who's going to be in the Charleston book, is another cousin.
Nice.
So it's through the family, but they're all standalones as well.
Okay, I found a lot of romance and even a lot of mysteries do that quite a bit. They'll like take a group of, six friends or something, and then they'll go deep dive on that one friend's life, and then they'll have book two will be the second friend's life. And I find that's really good for, cross the board readability. Because if I find a book, oh, this looks cool, pick it up. It can be book four, but you read the whole way through and you don't feel like you're missing anything. So I feel like that's a good way to do it. And then you sprinkle a good mystery in there too. I mean, can't go wrong.
Exactly. Yes, I've done that as well. You like you said, you put book four up and you said this is really good. So then you go back and end up reading book one. So now you're reading the series.
Yeah,
So yes. So I'm hoping that's what happens with this.
that's always a good hope. And then you had a second series also, like is it Rue Toulouse?
Rue Toulouse. Actually, Rue Toulouse was supposed to be a series, but that book took me so long to write. I don't know how many times I rewrote that book. And the editor kept saying, no, 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 I don't like this. You got to fix this. You got to fix that. And I was so frustrated with it. I finally wrote the beginning of it. And I thought, if she doesn't like it now, I'm done. I'm just done. So I sent it. She absolutely loved it. And I actually ended up winning the Reader's Favorite International Award for that book. I won the silver medal. And
Wow.
I just haven't been able to go back and do anything else. That one was just so overwhelming for me that I just never did do a sequel to it.
What made it so challenging? Was it just like the premise, or was that your first book?
No, actually,
Okay.
it was what was my third book.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
it, yeah, it was the beginning, and it was just getting the right tone for the character and getting her personality and
Oh,
to
okay.
lead into the story. What I finally ended up doing is going back. She lost both her parents at a very, very young age. And so I started it right after that had happened, which sort of then led you into her as an adult when the story starts.
Okay. That's a cool way to open it up. So you
Yeah.
get a little bit of sprinkle of a tragic backstory, followed by plopping right back into where she is as an adult. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yes.
And then I
Yes.
imagine, I imagine you get more into her backstory as you go on through the story.
Exactly. And it does affect her personality and her outlook on life
Oh,
throughout
I
the
would hope so.
story.
Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't. Our pasts dictate how we behave and see things, so
Exactly.
it makes a
Yes.
lot of sense there. Now, I'm very curious. As in the bio, is that you're visually impaired since childhood, and yet you're able to write all these books. I'm like, you have six to your name?
Six, yes, I've written six novels and I am in a number of anthologies with writers groups that I belong to.
Yeah.
Retinitis pigmentosa is similar to macular degeneration,
Hmm.
but it affects you as at a younger age. I was diagnosed at 18 months. They originally told my parents I had a brain tumor, my poor parents. But then, after many doctors, they finally determined that it was this retinitis pigmentosa with my eyes.
Yeah.
And I always had to wear very thick glasses, even when I could see better. But reading for me was always very difficult. I was a very
Sure.
slow reader. I couldn't just look at a word like somebody with 20/20 vision. I would have to go mostly letter by letter. So it was very frustrating. And in junior high school, I decided I just had these stories in my head and I just started making my own stories. And I would entertain my girlfriends on the way to school with these stories. In fact, a couple of them are still my biggest fans today. So I didn't do anything, write them down or anything. They were just in my head. And then in my early 20s, I actually lost the ability to read any sort of print.
Uh,
And I did learn Braille, but you can't write a book in Braille. So it really wasn't to the invention of computers and screen reading software. It's called JAWS. And what happens is everything I type into the computer is read back to me aloud. So, unfortunately, when I was in high school, I learned how to type. So I didn't have, I mean, that sticks with you. So you don't have to learn that again.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just been a life change for me. I mean, I wouldn't be writing today if it wasn't for this software and computers. And I do my research that way. If I run into trouble, I have David, I call him my seeing eye husband. I do have difficulty in doing marketing. Marketing is one thing that I am terrible at. I don't like it, but it has to be done. And if I want to do posts on Facebook or what have you, or my covers for my books or anything, I can't tell if they're upside down, sideways, or wherever. So that's where David comes in, and he'll post this stuff for me.
Oh, cool. Well,
But
you got that help. That's great.
oh yes, yes. And I also have a very nice lady who does some other marketing and stuff for me. But yeah, it's and I do my email. Everything is read to me aloud.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, that's great that we have technology nowadays that can make it easier for you to actually, or make it doable for you
Doable,
to
exactly.
doable. It
Yes,
doesn't sound like it's easy. It's just doable. You're able
yes.
to knock this out. And the fact that you've got so many titles under your name, I mean, holy cow, that's pretty awesome. So I mean, when were you actually able to start that process? Like what year abouts able to actually use a computer to write?
I think it was, oh my gosh, time is going. I maybe the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s.
Okay.
I took classes to learn how to use the screen reading software, and but they keep improving it all the time. It's a visual world. Well, screen reading software is for print. So you've got graphics and you've got all this stuff that they're trying, it's a challenge, and they're trying to make it accessible for the visually impaired. And you have these different keystrokes. What gets to the point, you need three hands. I don't know how you're supposed to do all these at once. So I I basically just stick with what I know. And like I said, if I run into trouble, David helps me.
Good.
But like I said, it's been quite a while since I wrote my first book.
When was your first book published?
Um, oh my goodness, what a good question. I think probably around, I don't know, 2008, maybe
Oh, cool.
2010. My first book is called Decorated to Death. And once again, it's my mystery cozy.
Yeah.
And I lived in a neighborhood. We lived in a historic neighborhood at the time, and where our houses, we had Christmas tours, and we would decorate our homes, and people would go through the houses. And I was on the committee. And if you're ever on a committee, there's always chaos going on trying to get ready for this tour.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I thought, oh, we need our dead bodies. And so I thought, well, this is fun. And then to be honest, I had this extremely obnoxious neighbor that I wanted to kill and not go to prison. So, so I had a way to do that in the book. Anyways, it turned out to be a really fun book. It was the only one that I actually self-published.
Oh,
The
okay.
rest of them are all through publishers, but that one is self-pub.
Did the obnoxious neighbor ever read the book?
I don't think so. No.
I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who write mysteries. He goes, "There's this one person who I just can't stand, and since
Oh,
murder is, punished by going to jail or worse,
exactly.
they can't do anything to me
Exactly.
if I
Yes.
write it down." And this is art. This is just
Exactly.
art. Yeah, freedom of expression, man. Oh, that's so funny. Now you've done some. I see you won some awards. You talked about Route to Lose. Route to
Mm-hmm.
Lose. Have you won any other awards?
Yes, I won for Mountain Blaze. I won the Book Excellent Award for that one. And for Silver Crescent, I won a lot of this local writing groups awards. I won a writing contest for His Magic Touch. I
Nice.
say that the one that I'm most proud of, though, is the International Writers one
Oh
for
yeah.
Route to Lose.
That's pretty amazing. And the fact that that one took you so long to write, and
Yes.
it proves that resilience is important.
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And how long it took you a while because it was just so frustrating to get that first part right, but how long did it take you to do all those iterations of Rootaloo's?
Probably about a year,
Oh, okay, it's not
actually, by the
terrible.
time we did all the rewrites. And that's usually my time frame for writing, because I'll write it. I'm a pantser. I have an outline that I do.
Yep.
I know my characters. I have my plot. I know my location. And, that first couple sentences to me are the hardest to write once you
Mhm.
get that. But I just write, and I don't know, I'll go back and reread it and say, no, 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 and do it. I don't know how many times I do rewrites, but from start to finish, it's 8 months to a year before I'm done. And then
Okay.
we go through the editing with my editor.
Do you have any beta readers that you have read? Does your husband read
David's my first line reader. Yep.
first
David
line
will
reader?
read it first. And then I have two cousins
Cool.
that are wonderful because they'll say, "Oh, Debbie, this sounds stupid," or "I don't like this at all," or "Get rid of this." So they're not just reading it to tell me how fabulous it is. They're honest and tell me when things need to be cut.
Oh, good. I love honest yet respectful family and friends. That's the best way to do it.
Yes,
Like, I don't want to hurt your feelings with this. I did not vibe with this at all. Like,
exactly.
gotta fix
Yes,
this. This is not cool. That's what I'd rather have. I want you to be not, so honest that it hurts, but enough where it's like, okay, I gotta do something. Call to
yes,
action at that point in
exactly.
time. Yeah. Yeah. So you said you have your future books, two more books coming up for the South Carolina series. Is that it? It's gonna be just four, or are you just gonna go until you can't write anymore?
I just gonna go till I can't write anymore. I'm like I said, I'm also part of a writers group, and we've been putting out. It's called Romancing the Holidays,
Oh, okay.
and it's really kind of cool because we do. You just pick what holiday, and I do fall because I have my witches. My stories, they're small. They're only 8,000 words.
Oh.
What I've done is I've each book that comes out is it's the same group of ladies, but I move on. So it's a school for witches, and it's in
Mm.
Colorado, and it starts in the late 1800s. And I've written three of them so far. So I'm hoping they're going to do another one next year. So I'm hoping to be part of that as well.
Oh, that's interesting. That's how many people are in this group?
Oh gosh, we have about 30. Not
Oh,
everybody participates in the anthologies. There's quite a few that do. I mean, we have a nice variety of stories.
yeah. Wow, that's a lot of people in one writing group.
Yes, actually it is. It's a fun group. They're wonderful because when we have our meetings, they always have somebody there, either another author or somebody teaching us marketing. There's always some sort
Oh.
of teaching going in along with our meetings, which is helpful.
Oh God, yes. I mean, just to have, because it's so hard to weed through all of the marketing, just jargon and the industry itself. Like, it's bad enough, it's hard enough as a writer, as you know, to just get your work on paper and to actually edit it and make it a product that you're proud of. And now you go to publish it and you've done this great thing. And now you're like, I have to like walk around and show this thing off to the world now. And it's like, as someone who's, I don't know if you're an introvert or extrovert or not, but as someone who's an introvert like myself, doing that is just so challenging. It's not doing it. Look at
No,
me. Look what I made. It's just I
oh,
hate doing that.
I do too. And I
Yeah.
don't, I'm terrible at it. And I don't want to spend time doing it. I'd rather be writing.
Same.
And having to all these different places to, I do online blog tours when the book comes out, and those are usually a month long. And I'll try to do like this. I try to do interviews and be on other people's blogs, and it just goes on and on. And it can be expensive too. I mean, to get yourself out there, a lot of these places that will promote your book, I mean, some of them are reasonable, but some of them are extremely expensive. And I can't say I'd be starving if I had to live off the sales of my my books. So paying a lot for marketing is just something I can't do.
Kind of boils down to, do you enjoy doing the writing? Do you enjoy getting the books out? And the answer is yes. And that's what you're doing it for. You know what I mean? You're getting the stories
Exactly.
out. That's what I've seen it as. If something just takes off and goes wild, cool. But am I gonna expect that to happen? No.
No,
Not today's day. Not no way. Well,
no,
it's funny because you go through the history and the evolution of publishing and marketing. Back in the day, was you wrote something, you had to get it published, and the publisher was the one to market said book for you.
exactly.
And then as time went on, that changed the responsibility of the author to do a majority of, if not all, of the marketing, if you're lucky enough to find a publisher to get you going. So there's just so much, and there's so many people. Technology has not only helped you get your, be able to actually write and get your stories down, but it's also made it accessible for everyone who wants to write something to get it out in the world, which is great. And it's a double-edged sword, though, because now we're competing with everyone and their mother to get the books out there.
Exactly. Yes. And I understand too, even if you're a well-known author, I
Yep.
happen to be friends with, her name is Heather Graham, and she's written over 100 books
Oh
probably.
my
And she's the
gosh.
one that does the conference down in New Orleans. And she writes for Harlequin. But she still is marketing herself. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
they'll market her for a while, but then she's on her own.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how well known you are or not, you're still have to put yourself out there.
You do. Well, and then something else I was wondering, for putting yourself out there, do you do any live book sales, bookstores or other conferences like that? Do you have a set of stand up and sell your books from a stand or anything like that?
Yes, I do actually. Before COVID,
Hmm.
I used to do a lot of local book clubs here.
Oh,
That's
cool.
one thing that there's enough of on Hilton Head is ladies with book clubs, and it used to be fun because we'd go to a restaurant, they'd have a room in a restaurant or something, and they were just always a lively, fun bunch of ladies. And I actually spoke. We have a women's club here where I live, and it was right after we had a Hurricane Matthew went through, gosh, it's probably about 5 years ago now, and it really hit Hilton Head hard. Anyways, afterwards they wanted something a little light for we have a speaker at our luncheons, and they asked me if I would be interested. So I spoke in front of 240 women,
Hmm.
and I said, there's times I'm glad I can't see because I couldn't see them all out there looking at me, which helped a lot.
Yeah.
But it went really, really well. And I've done conferences. I've been on panels at conferences, and in fact, I'm going to be on a panel here after the first of the year at the local library. So I do really enjoy doing that.
That's cool. And I think honestly, the best way for you to get out there, because the marketing online is it's so hard. I mean, it's a drop in a bucket, because with everything going on with, all the different social media apps, and everyone's attention spans getting smaller, and there's just so much out there for people just to get, completely blind by all of the stuff. Like I don't even see most of the advertisements that are put in front of me anymore, because there's just so many of them.
Exactly.
So to me,
Yes.
doing what you're doing, hitting it locally, and just trying to be a known author within your community, I think that's a success in and of itself. So I mean,
It is, and it's really kind of a funny story. There's a gentleman who runs a sunset cruise boat here on the island, and he and I became friends. In fact, he's actually in Island Heat, Captain
oh,
Phil, and he liked the book. So his wife really enjoys my books, and he says, "Well, maybe why don't we could sell them here in in some of the local shops?"
heck yeah.
And well, Island Heat is okay, but the other book covers, I said, no, no, no. My book covers are way too sexy for them to put into stores here. They really don't want that. But I thought it
Yeah.
was awfully sweet of him that he liked my books enough that he thought we should sell them in the stores.
Mhm. Yeah. If you're able to get local businesses and friends who own businesses, and to display your books there, it's only going to help. It's only going to help.
We have a Barnes and Noble here on the island, and we used to have excellent manager, and he really liked local authors. We had a nice section with all the local authors' books and nice display. In fact, one time I went in and it was when his Magic Touch was released, and I went in and they said, "Well, it's on the shelf somewhere." And so they looked. They said, "Oh, well, they put it on the new releases romance release, and since my last name is Grahl and Heather Graham is Graham, I'm right there next to Heather." And I thought, holy cow, my book is right up here next to Heather's, even though it was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to be there, but I had David take my picture standing there with my book next to Heather's. But it was just a really nice. Well, then they got a new manager in there and stuck us all on a table back in a corner.
Yeah.
And really wasn't at all interested in us. But now I understand they've got another new manager who is really wanting local authors back again. So I haven't had an opportunity to go over there yet, but I'm hoping that I can get my books back on display in Barnes and Noble here.
Good. Yeah, and there's a lot of, at least around here in Washington State, we've got a lot of indie author bookstores and small press bookstores, that kind of thing. So that's kind of cool. They can you just walk in like, hey, I want to put my books up. Oh, cool. Here's a couple slots for you, and it's pretty nice. They really love local authors. We have so many out here. It's kind of ridiculous.
See, that's wonderful. We're the opposite here.
Yeah.
There is no, we have one. It's Buford, and it's about an hour from me. No, there isn't anything, any bookstores. We've got, like I said, we've got Barnes and Noble, and then I don't know, the Savannah has some. They might have a couple more indie bookstores, but yeah, they've just all seemed to disappear along here.
Yeah, I mean, in general, they're kind of starting to go away just because of technology and e-readers and Amazon and all that fun stuff. So it's hard. So I'm really rooting for all those small bookstores around here. We also have a lot of, I don't know how your weather is out there, but out here it's pretty gross and gray and wet. So what else are we going to do other than read books and sometimes write books? So we have a
exactly
stupid amount of people out here. I live in Kitsap County, just west of Seattle, and Seattle and Kitsap region, there's per author per capita is kind of insane. It's like, what else are you going to do? You have a story in your head, you're stuck in your house for 6 months because of the nasty weather. Might as well just get this book out. So there's just so many people coming out of the woodwork, especially since the pandemic. People have come out because they're literally stuck at home. They couldn't do anything.
Exactly. Well, we have beautiful weather here. In fact, it's 71 degrees here today and the sun's shining. But we get beach readers. So people want books they can read on the beach.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't like taking their Kindles and stuff on the beach. They want a paperback, and if it falls or whatever, it's no big deal.
Right.
And so we do sell a lot more paperbacks here on the island. And then it's a very touristy area too. So we get a lot of tourists. And that's another reason that this having the Barnes and Noble carry our local writers here was really nice, because like I said, the tourists go in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, kind of going back to Island Heat and your other stories, are any of the characters that you have in them based on people in your life?
No, but the fun thing about Island Heat is all of my girlfriends are in that book.
Oh, cool.
Under their real names. And they have, some of them have very short dialogue, maybe one sentence or so, but I managed to put them all in the book, and they were so excited when the book came out. In fact, my one friend says, I'm on page whatever it was. I found it right away. I found myself in there. So that was really kind of fun. But no, they're really, like I said, the only one book that I wrote that actually is neighbors or somebody close to me would be Decorated to Death, but the rest of them are just all made up.
Oh, okay. Well, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I always like when an author can kind of do a nod in their stories to friends or family. And it's always kind of, as a reader, you don't necessarily know, but those close to you do know. And yes. I find that when you have those nods or, the weird quirks or sayings, it kind of adds a little extra spice or X factor to the book. And it's just fun for me to I love doing that. We have like family sayings and friends sayings and different weird quirks, and I'll sprinkle that into an offshoot character that's only there for a scene. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Oh, that is too fun. That's
So,
exactly what I did.
yeah.
Yes, I just have the ladies in there, and like I said, they all have just a little thing to say, but they're just tickled with it.
Yeah, everyone loves, they love that. Just putting your, I had one friend of mine who's also an author. He was interviewed here a long time ago. He put so many names into his book, and he was just like, he was waiting for the phone calls, like, hey, I found me on this, hey, I found me on this, hey, I found me on this. And some actually, they didn't get mad, but like how he described like a certain event, and they're like, you really had to just put me down like that, just something. It was just silly. He's like, he had fun with it. He's like, no offensive, it was just how it worked. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually waiting though for my editor to write to me and say, who are all these people and what point are they? What
Yeah.
is the point? Because she's big on, what is the point? But she was okay. She didn't say anything. So she just
Yeah.
let it ride.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, there's so many names out there. You're gonna, who it's not gonna be a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. But anyway, good times. So where can people get copies of all of your books, especially Island Heat, obviously?
Well, Amazon, they're available paperback and Kindle, all of the books. My website is www.debbygral.com. They're available there as well. Barnes and Noble. You can get them online at Walmart and Target.
Oh, nice. You're in Walmart and Target. Amazing.
Yes.
Good stuff. Well, Debbie, thanks so much for coming on today. It's been a great joy talking with you and learning about you and your books. And it's wonderful to connect. So thank you for taking time and chatting with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
Good. I'm glad. And when you get some more books out, because, it looks like you're not stopping anytime soon, happily to open up another interview for you in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this conversation. Go out and get some mystery, paranormal, romance, not all together, but you get the picture. Go get some good stuff. Go check her out and just support more amazing authors in our wonderful world here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, stay mighty and keep reading. Are you an author? Do you know someone who is? If so, then message me, Ryan Oliver, at ryanmoliver.com to set up a free appointment to discuss being showcased on the Mighty Books podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Mighty Books YouTube channel and share the link to this and more episodes with your friends and family. Thanks for listening. So long for now. Stay mighty and keep reading.